Alrighty, what is quacking, everybody? We have the Switch 2 on the horizon within 4 days, as I'm probably going to upload this video, and it's exciting. I'm excited for the Switch 2, and what did the Switch 1 leave us with? I want to look back at the Switch 1 and really, go over the highlights and really sit with the Switch 1 as we leave the Switch 1 behind. Also, if you enjoy this video, and like it, subscribe. My voice is also dying because I'm kind of sick, so I'd appreciate it if you subscribe. It would make me feel better. But the Switch 1 and the Switch 1's legacy that I think is really good. So the Switch 1 was definitely innovative. I believe it definitely kicked off the whole inspiring stuff like the Steam Deck and other handheld devices that we see. I think it's like Lenovo or Asus. They have their own handheld device that runs Windows. So it kicked off that. Definitely the Switch was great in that aspects. It wasn't a powerhouse like, other modern systems for sure. It was a generation behind. But the Switch 1 had the games, and that's what Nintendo does best, is they make games. Like, right now you could be thinking of the Switch 2 and all the controversies. I'll get into that a little bit later. But the Switch 1 and what Nintendo does best is they bring the games. They bring us the Marios, the Zeldas, the Pikmins, Metroids, Pokemon. We get all that stuff, the Animal Crossings. Like, the Switch 1 was bumping through and through the entire life cycle. There was a couple down years where there wasn't really anything happening with some games, especially these last year or two. It's been kind of, up and down a little bit, but it started off real strong with Mario Odyssey, and Zelda Breath of the Wild. It launched with Zelda Breath of the Wild, and that game absolutely crushed it. It inspired and really expanded upon the Zelda world. And while open world games were still a thing, it did them differently with the Zelda coat of paint that it felt different. It was really solid in aspects with the different things you could do with Link and the bombs and the whole, technological thing. I forgot what it was called. It was like the pad or whatever, that thing. I haven't played Breath of the Wild in a while, but that aspect of the game where it was all that, and it was great. The side quests, the world, seeing Hyrule in a different way than we've ever seen it before, and Breath of the Wild just nailed it in every aspect. And then later that same year, we got Super Mario Odyssey, which is arguably, I made a video on it last Monday. I post my review on it because I finally finished it, but I think Super Mario Odyssey is going to be the future modern version of Mario 64. I think when, 20 years in the future, I think we're going to see people speedrunning Mario Odyssey the same way we see people speedrun Mario 64. That's just my prediction, but I think Super Mario Odyssey is just the modern Mario 64. It is just a solid game through and through, and it feels amazing. Also, if I'm not mistaken, I believe we also got Luigi's Mansion 3 that same year as well. So it was pretty stacked the first year. We also had one of the games that I love the most, Splatoon, launch within, I believe, the first year as well. Something like that. We had a lot of games the first year of the Nintendo Switch 1. The first year of the Switch 2 was just absolutely jam-packed with so many good games. Oh my god, the first year of the Switch 1 was just absolutely phenomenal. And then the year after, we got Smash, we got Sword and Shield, I believe, a couple years later as well. So Sword and Shield was, the start of the home console, Pokemon on the home console, which was huge for Pokemon. And then we had Animal Crossing, which held everybody over for COVID. That game absolutely slapped. Animal Crossing was just a fun time for the most part. It wasn't really my cup of tea. I did enjoy some design aspects of it, but Animal Crossing wasn't my cup of tea, but I could see how it could be people's cup of tea, and it was something that, people really enjoyed. And then, like I said, Smash Brothers, that is just a staple game for everyone. And then, not to mention all of the different remakes that we've gotten, or HD ports. We got Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, on the Switch that was just absolutely selling the consoles as well. We got multiple Mario parties on this system with Super Mario Party, which did suck. It came out within the first or second year of the Switch. Super Mario Party was not the greatest, but then they brought it back with All Stars and Jamboree. Like, Jamboree and All Stars are just amazing Mario Party games. They're just so good. Ooh, Jamboree is just such a fire Mario Party game. Like, God, the Mario Party games are really hitting besides Super Mario Party on the Switch. So we just had all these heavy hitting games. You know, like I said, with Mario Kart 8, it's the number one selling, you know, Nintendo Switch game of all time. And then you have Pokemon Scarlet and Violet just like absolutely just eking it out over Sword and Shield once that came out. Granted, I will say Scarlet and Violet was kind of a blemish for Pokemon and the Switch in general, just because of the issues that it had, and just honestly the Switch just couldn't handle a game like Scarlet and Violet. They could have optimized it with the wizardry that Tears of the Kingdom had, but yeah, Scarlet and Violet just kind of flopped. But, you know, speaking of Tears of the Kingdom, like that game just, you know, it took Breath of the Wild and turned it on its head. And also it's just such an amazing game. Like, I'm going through a no-hit challenge right now, and it's just so fun. It's just such a glorious world to explore. There's just so much to it. There's so much depth to the game. And like I said, whatever tech wizardry they did to get that game to run on the Switch is insane. They need to give that to the Pokemon Scarlet and Violet team so the game can still run good. It runs okay-ish now on the Switch with some updates. Like, I have an OLED and Scarlet and Violet runs okay. There's still some lag here and there, but it's all right. But yes, Tears of the Kingdom was just such an amazing game. And then we had a Mario Wonder. Oh my god, we haven't had a 2D Mario in forever. Mario Wonder was just so fun and colorful. The new abilities that Mario had. And then speaking of 2D Mario, we had Mario Maker early into the life system, early in the console's life cycle as well. So the Switch 1 was just bumping the whole time. We had Ring Fit Adventure, Switch Sports, Pokemon Let's Go Pikachu and Eevee. I would say Brilliant Diamond and Shining Pearl. Like, I think the two Pokemon titles, Brilliant Diamond, Shining Pearl, and Scarlet and Violet, were kind of a miss for the console. They sold really well. Brilliant Diamond and Shining Pearl got 15th for most selling copies on the Switch, but like, it wasn't that great. It just kind of fumbled where there could have been improvements. But you had Legends Arceus as well, Luigi's Mansion 3, like I said, you know, Splatoon 2, and then we had Splatoon 3, my little baby Splatoon 3. This is my second channel that I just yap about games, but on my main channel I mostly talk about Splatoon and do other fun things with my personality over there. But Splatoon is kind of like the big thing for me, and Splatoon 3 just really nailed it. I didn't think we were gonna get Splatoon 3. I'm gonna be honest, I didn't think we were gonna get Splatoon 3 on the Switch 1. I thought Switch 2, sure, we were gonna get it for Switch 2, but we got Splatoon 3, and it's been an amazing ride. Won some tournaments, went to some in-person events. Like, Splatoon 3 is just a phenomenal game. And then we also got, you know, the physical only, I don't even know if they still sell it on the eShop, but we had Super Mario 3D All-Stars with Mario 64 Sunshine Galaxy. There was some issues with that, but it is what it is. But we got the exclusive that. We had Monster Hunter Rise, which launched early on the Switch, and then it moved to PC. Then we had 3D Kirby with Kirby in the Forgotten Land. That game is just amazing. It was just such a fun time playing that game. And I could just sit here and keep going on and on. We had Link's Awakening, the remake from the Game Boy version. You know, we had Donkey Kong Tropical Freeze, which was a port from the Wii. We had some Wii U ports with Pikmin 3. We got Pikmin 4 as well, which was a new game, Pikmin 4 was just so good. Oh my god, it was just so good. And we had Skyward Sword HD port from the Wii. Zelda Echoes of Wisdom, our first like we play a Zelda game. Like, the Switch one was just bumping with games, and that's what Nintendo does best, is they make banger games. Like, most of these games are just good. they're just solid, amazing games. I can't really knock any of these games, even Animal Crossing. Animal Crossing, I get bored of Animal Crossing after a while. Like, personally, I'm not an Animal Crossing fan. It's fun for a little bit, decorating your island, whatever, all that stuff. But I get bored of playing Chore Simulator. But I still can't knock Animal Crossing for having some things and doing some good stuff. Like, it's still a game that I was willing to sit down and pour like 40, 50 hours into and just go through the game and play the game. So Nintendo pumps out these games that are all-time classics. And like, it does suck that, you know, some of these games, like, I'm hoping with the Switch 2, we get more. I'm hoping we get a Mario Maker 3. We're getting some of these games that can, you know, breathe life into the franchises. Because some of the games I listed, like Mario Odyssey, that game came out the first year of the Switch. We haven't had a 3D Mario since. And same thing with Mario Maker. Like, Mario Maker came out like within like the first year or two of the Switch's life cycle, and it hasn't, you know, seen anything since. Like, honestly, people are still playing Mario Maker as well. Like, we have our dedicated people. The SMO community is being carried by speedruns, because Mario's just a good speedrunning game. It's just so fun. It feels good. But also, there's a lot of mods with Super Mario Odyssey. There's the Super Mario Odyssey Online mods and hide and seek mods and all these different things with Super Mario Odyssey that it's keeping it alive. And, you know, we have all these games that it's just like, man, we have Mario Rabbids, which was just such a fun tactical game. Like, I really enjoyed it as well. God, I bet me saying Mario Rabbids just like unlocked like a core memory for some people, because like that game, they had a sequel to it, but like I never got around to playing it. But yeah, there was a sequel to it. There's Paper Mario: The Origami King, Metroid Dread. We got Metroid Dread. Oh my god, that was so fun. Just playing through Metroid Dread, having that 2D Metroid feel. God, it was so good. And it's just like all of these different games. There's just so many bangers that you only get on the Nintendo Switch, unless you know, emulate it and, you know, hack your Switch, rip the games, all that stuff. You can do all that stuff. But, you know, you only get that on the Nintendo Switch. And that's what makes Nintendo stand out above other gaming companies. Like, to be fair, if this was years ago, it'd be a fierce competition for sure. Like, it was already, like, I would say a fierce competition when, you know, back when the PS2 was around and the Xbox and the GameCube was around, because, man, I had all the consoles growing up, and it's just like, you know, PlayStation 2, I was like, man, I could play Jak and Daxter, Ratchet and Clank, you know, all these different games on the PS2. And then it's like, but man, you know, the GameCube's got Pikmin, I got Zelda, Twilight Princess, I got all these different games on the GameCube, Luigi's Mansion, and it's just like, it was so fierce. Nowadays, your best gaming experience is getting a PC and a Nintendo console, because everything's on PC these days. Everything's on Steam. PlayStation's putting their games on there. Microsoft's putting their games on there. Like, you just have everything on Steam except Nintendo games. Obviously, there's some games that, you know, you're not going to need to buy. They're getting third-party support this time for the Switch 2, but, you know, I don't need to buy Cyberpunk for the Switch 2 because I have it on Steam already, so there's no reason for me to buy it. So you have those kind of caveats where it's just like, all right, like, if I'm buying third-party, like, you know, now because the Switch is more powerful, the Switch 2 is more powerful, I am inclined to buy third-party games on the Switch, because I do enjoy having that console feel. I do kind of miss it. Like, yes, I enjoy my computer very much. I enjoy playing games on it, but like, I do miss that console feel. I do miss just grabbing my controller, playing some games. I really hope that the Switch 2 gets a version of Persona 3 Reload. That is my favorite Persona game. I would like to play Persona 3 Reload on the go with the Switch 2. And, you know, play Persona 5 Royals, and then if Persona 4, when Persona 4 Remake comes out, I'll have that as well. But besides that, you know, the Switch and Nintendo, just like I said, they make banger games. And I know there's a bunch of controversy all around the Switch. You can say what you want about the Switch 2 and stuff like that, but Nintendo's going to be bringing their games. They're going to be bringing their games. Like, their goal, even if they're making money, even if, you know, they're doing stuff that people hate or dislike, they're going to bring their games. Like, the new Donkey Kong game, our first 3D Donkey Kong in decades, looks amazing. The new Mario Kart World Oh my God. Like, I've never been more excited to play a racing game in my life. We're also getting Sakurai's Kirby Air Ride, which that game's gonna bang, honestly. Kirby Air Ride is just gonna bang. Sakurai always makes fantastic games. Like, we're just getting a good amount, and we don't even know what's coming at the end of the year too with Switch 2. We just know what's coming within the first couple months. We don't know what we're getting as a holiday title. We don't even know what we're getting next year. Like, there's so much. The Nintendo Switch 2 reveal was just them going, we have third-party games, and also, by the way, screw you, Sony. We got FromSoft to make us our own Bloodborne. Eat it. Suck my toes. Like, Nintendo just went, yeah, here's all of our third-party support now because our console can handle it. So that's just great in general for people like children, younger people. And honestly, I know people are saying, oh my God, the Switch 2 is so expensive. The PS5s and Xboxes are $600. Don't come at me with a $450 price tag like, oh my God, it's so expensive. It's not that expensive compared to the other competition on the market. So they're still selling their consoles at a cheaper price. And to be fair, it's a luxury item as well. So, you don't have to buy it if you don't want to buy it, or if you think it's out of your price range, just wait, save up, do those things. Like, video games should be accessible. I'm not, just going, oh, the company, blah, blah, blah. But like, comparatively to other consoles, like I bought a PlayStation 5 before, not for myself, but for my brother for his birthday, because I broke his PlayStation 4 because I was trying to clean it and I took it apart and I accidentally ripped out something and I had to go drop $600 on a PlayStation 5 for my brother because I broke his PlayStation. I was like, happy birthday. I broke your PlayStation, by the way, but here's a new console. Hey, so I would have gladly spent $450 because that would have hurt the pockets a little bit less than buying a $600 PlayStation 5. So if we're going to talk about price points, there's that. I know there's the whole gaming price, which I don't agree with. It shouldn't be $80. It is what it is. It's going to be $80, unfortunately, unless you buy it with the bundle for the Switch 2. So, we're just not going to buy the games. I'm going to buy it because I want to play it, but I could see why people, don't want to buy it, and the price is very expensive. But they're going to be bringing games. They're going to be hitting games. Hopefully they stick with a $60 to $70 price tag for their future releases and not the $80 from Mario Kart World. To be fair, we don't know what's in Mario Kart World. It could be very well like, yeah, this was worth the $80. Or they could do what they do with all of their games where they just give free updates. So it could be we drop $80, but hey, you're getting years of support. Like, we're going to be supporting Mario Kart World for years if you pay the $80 price point, which is something I can get on board with. But we don't have all the details, so that's why I can understand why we're all upset about these price points. But outside of the negative of price points, and also people saying, Nintendo can brick your system, Microsoft has already had that in their clauses. Microsoft will brick your console and render it unusable. Nintendo just finally added it to theirs. And I don't know if Sony has that in their clause. I can look it up. Yes, Sony also has it in their clause where they can break your system. Nintendo just joined them on that bandwagon where they're going to break your system if you're, hacking, modding, and doing whatever, which it's good and bad. It's good because you don't have to worry about hackers in your PvP games. Like, you're playing Smash and someone just like wrecks your entire, day in Smash. You lose your GSP, or you're playing Splatoon and people do that. But it does suck, however, for the people who do Mario Odyssey Online, Mario Odyssey Hide and Seek. There is emulators. I'm sure they'll end up working around it, with emulators and doing all that stuff. I know a lot of the big streamers want to stay in Nintendo's good graces and they skirt the lines with the mods and stuff like that. But I can see a world where, they, just start using emulators. If we get a Switch 2 emulator, they just do that and, skirt the lines in that way. So I can see people moving to emulators instead of, dealing with the whole breaking your console type deal. But that opens up a whole other can of worms where you're using, peer-to-peer and IP, port forwarding IP stuff. So that is an issue. It does suck with the positives of modding, but it's good for the negatives where I don't have to worry about a hacker just spamming disgustingness in my Splatoon games and me just like losing my, rank for no reason. But I am excited for the future of the Switch as we don't know what's coming. There's just so much. There's just so much for the Switch 2 that we don't know about, even with the pros and cons of it, even with everything that's been happening. There's just so much that we don't know what the Switch 2 is going to be bringing. So I think overall the Switch 1 was a success. It was a huge thing for Nintendo, and I think it's definitely propelled the Switch 2 to be even bigger. As it stands right now, like, yeah, there's been negative press around the Switch 2, but you have it where Japan isn't even fully stocked. You have America where, yeah, there's issues right now with a bunch of other things, but like, they're still having to cancel people's pre-orders because they can't get them their pre-orders. You just have millions upon millions of Switch units just moving worldwide right now. And they had to apologize to Japan because they couldn't give everybody, they only had like 2 million units for Japan, and they can't, like, there more people want it than just 2 million. So the Switch 2 is just gonna be an insane first year. It's gonna be so good for Nintendo. Like, I can't even fathom how much money they're going to be making off of this, because they don't sell their consoles at a loss. Like, that's why they use some older tech, so they don't sell their consoles at a loss. But also, the Switch 2 is finally going to be on board with modern systems. It's still going to be able to output the power and stuff that we need. Maybe not for the newest games, like, it's going to get left behind, sure, in a couple years, but right now, most definitely, it can handle all these different games that are going to be coming to it. And Nintendo just makes a console that you make the game for. That's kind of what the Switch is. They make their games for their console, and that's why Nintendo's so good as well, as they just utilize their console to make the games for that console. And Nintendo just makes banger after banger. Regardless of how you feel about Nintendo, they make bangers. Like, you can't argue they don't make bangers. And I know bangers. I used to be a DJ. But yeah, there's just bangers. The Switch 1 was just... The Switch 1 has a very good place in history. It is definitely the positives of Nintendo in many ways with all of the games they produced. I believe I was watching an Arlo video, and Arlo said that the Wii was an unhealthy popularity thing for Nintendo, and I would have to agree with him that the Wii, while the Wii was amazing and sold millions and, you know, was good for the casual consumer, in general the Wii was a net negative because it didn't give that much. And then you transition to the Wii U, and the Wii U was just a flop, even though the Wii U also had bangers on it. You had Pikmin 3 on the Wii U, you had Smash 4, you had Splatoon 1, you had Super Mario Bros. U. Like, the Wii U had some bangers, but the Switch 1 now just absolutely knocked out of the park, and it will be remembered as a innovative and staple console for many years. But that's the Switch 1, me talking about, you know, the Switch 1 games, all the different bangers on the Switch 1. We got 4 days left till the Switch 2. I'm hype. I'm ready for it. I got my pre-order in. I did not get my pre-order canceled, so I am waiting for that. I have that day off too. I'm gonna be sitting on my front porch like SpongeBob waiting for the mail. I'm be like, is it here yet? Is it here yet? Is it here yet? I'm gonna be ready for it. But hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you made it this far, subscribe. I'd really appreciate it. And follow me on Twitch as well if you also made it this far, because I will be streaming my Switch 2 stuff day one. But I will see you in the next one. Take care. Peace.